Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We are here for another episode of Circle of the Gods. Point six presents Men. You still have value. Part two, and hopefully will be the last. Well, not the last conversation about men healing, but you know, we do want to make sure that um, we come as a friendly reminder to talk about issues pertaining to the mental health or mental status of us as human beings. Uh, in today's show, in particular, men, as we took men out of mental, heal out of health, and simply saying, men heal. If you are a man and you don't feel like you need healing, if you feel like your life is perfect, or if you feel like you have mastered yourself enough that you don't have problems or whatever, or you know how to solve them, then kudos to you, because there are some men who are well disciplined and who move and they don't let problems deter them. They just simply have the patience um, to make the mind adjustments to change. And that's where we want to try to get as we try to move towards mental health up out of mental illness. So y'all hang in there, stick with me. I'll be right back after this message.
Yeah. What's up with it? It's your favorite icon up in the building. Circle of the Gods, point six. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go. Kamikaze. Yes, we in the building. It's the circle of the God, point six. Do you feel me? I'm the boss, icon, and I said I'm already ready. FedEx that. You got me? Bacardi in the cup, what's up? With some Sprite and some lean, I'm about to make a lean on the truth, boy. It's the manifesto of the G.O.D. Yeah, icon, let's go. Murderous eyes. Yeah, that's the flow when we leave it tight and leave no doubt, cause we gotta let them know. I still pay respect to the gods on the other side, but right now I got the G.O. Flexing on a whole nother level till my friends can't up with me. Go, go. If you get to the top, I salute that. Let's get it. It's always family, always friends. Until we turn to something else, I throw up my hands and get loose with it. I'm just saying in my own lane, cause I don't get into all the other things. Nah. It's love over here. The circle of the God, point six, yeah. Let's get it clear.
All right, y'all. Yes, indeed, man. I had to come on through with the
Point six.
the circle of the gods point six, man. Um, Shout out to the creative minds, the men and women, the masculine and feminine principles, the students of life, and everything in between. Uh, those two polar significant positions as we are in a classroom. If you are a living being, you are in a classroom. You're learning, even if you don't want to learn. Life is going to make you learn. You're either going to learn and grow, or you're going to learn how you studying your own growth. It's either way. There's no in between. So I think it would be wise for us to really start paying attention to what's going on in our own heads. Pay attention to what we're allowing to come through our ear portals, our eye portals, our nose and mouth portals, the senses. So we can try to grasp if you sense that there's a problem, or if you know there is a problem going on up here. Because most of us know. Most of us may be afraid to say something about it because we don't want people to pick or start critiquing and start overly asking, you all right, you all right, you all right. Which I don't think is nothing wrong with being asked if you're all right. But the thing becomes, if I'm not all right, what are you prepared to do to help me, or can you help me? And so sometimes people will just think, and I'm gonna just keep this stuff to myself. I'll just keep all this stuff to myself. And I used to be one of those people that would keep a lot of things to myself. You know, um, again, I've said this, and I'll reiterate from time to time. I grew up a certain type of way. I didn't grow up with my biological father in my life, though I love my biological father, Albert Lee Smith. Love my dad. I am a replication of him and my mother. And I learned over time in life how to forgive, have mercy, because I want forgiveness. I received mercy when I didn't deserve it. You know what I'm saying? So I got to a place in my life after my intervention in federal prison, in which I served 28 plus years there, and had to come out here and go through another 6 years of detaching myself from the system. And I don't think we can ever be detached from the system. But Icon, what are we talking about today? We're talking about part two of men healing. You know, I'm not getting all into the statistics about this, that, there, or other, because we know statistics can be right or they could be wrong or varying or trying to get close. It's really just trying to show us a picture that there is a problem, and it's a problem in mass numbers, right? Everybody may not be affected the same way. Everybody might not respond the same way to uh, uh, hard times or struggles. Like everybody don't respond the same way when it's happy time. Some people can be happy and don't even look like they're happy. Like they always told me, like I was mad all the time when I used to be like I was perfectly fine within my own head. But it is the perception. It was the perception that was projected, and in that projected perception of what they were seeing from me, they thought it was an issue, and there was really an issue. But there were times when I wasn't upset, I wasn't mad. I just had got so used to my face being scrunched up. And my great aunt, she used to always tell me, "You better stop scrunching your face up like that. I'll have them lines. You're gonna leave your permanent lines in your forehead and stuff like that." I'm like, you hear that type of stuff and you roll on and you roll on with what you're doing. So in part two of men, you still have value. Evaluating mental statuses of us as men. Now, I always use myself as the premise. I always like to look in that mirror and use my life as the onus and take responsibility of things I've done as a man. And I want to encourage other men that I'm not telling you that you got to go get in a booth and profess your sins to anybody or do anything of that such, because most people ain't gonna do that anyway. You know, there are some things that you have to do within the confines of your self community, because this is where the battle has to start. It doesn't start on the outside, it starts on the inside, right? I said start. That doesn't mean that we don't investigate things on the outside to start putting pieces together so we know what to do when we go on the inside, because that is very important. A lot of the times we don't do research. We don't uh, take the time because we're so distracted out here with foolishness or things that they're telling us a man should be involved in. But in the same token, we get involved with the cars and dressing up I mean, some of us got uh uh brothers got some cars, man, that look outstanding. All kinds of cars, and you put a lot into those cars. We do, you know what I'm saying? Um, and it's our jury game. Like we want to come outside. You just notice everybody got to have the cables and chains around the neck with the diamonds encrusted and all this stuff, trying still to portray a certain type of an image. And as long as I pay some bills here, you know what I'm saying, uh, and I stand on business. Dude get me wrong, I go in his mouth or I take him out or whatever, and that's a man being strong, being standing on your square. Well, what is that? What does that mean, Icon, to you, Icon? To be standing on business. Well, I'm gonna make it plain and simple to you. I used to think that as long as I stood up for myself, as long as I didn't run from a fight, as long as I was able to do what I wanted to do, whether it was right or wrong, I was a man. I had in my mind that if I ever had children, I would be there for my children. I pay them bills, but I still was tied into a lifestyle um, that would ultimately take me away from the very things I was saying, you know, that I was thinking in my mind would make me a man, and I still end up losing or lacking. Um, and it caused me to be in a state where I was restricted. Now, everybody don't is not going to go to a prison, a physical prison, but that doesn't mean that the mental and spiritual prison isn't set up, because that's set up from the beginning. And from what I'm realizing out here in social media. in the community, it's very plain to see there has been damn near a total decapitation of the masculine principle in reference to those of us who do not fit the mold of high society. And this is an issue that affects all men of all races, of all ethnicities, that's not in the upper echelon. Somewhere along the line, our voices got muted um, through different methods and forms of warfare, mental warfare. We were isolated and we were stripped through the facilitation of mind control, through the facilitation of beatings, unalivings, discrimination, and made to understand that you don't hold no power. Now, in particular, on the totem pole, again, I'll revisit this one more time. If we use the color situation or the colorism or us as human beings being depicted as colors or identified by color, you know the totem pole starts with white and then it makes its way on down, right? The treatment, the treatment of the person of quote unquote color will signify in detail what the value is. So-called black men, you have the lowest value on the totem pole. Nobody likes you. You don't like yourself. And you've been made to believe that you're worthless. Or in your own mind, you were something, but in actualities and in creating and in owning and in having power, we coming up lacking. Now, this is a serious thing to me because I'm a part of this collective, quote unquote, of the so-called black man. Now, I'm a fair person. I've researched, I've studied, I was introduced to what social constructs were, um, how they play a significant part in our thought process, and the different things that we think that lead us to saying and doing things that's not beneficial to the self community or to the community at large. Big deficit. And I began to notice that, you know, the wickedly wise, they understand this. If we are to maintain power, if we are to continue to have the right of way to dictate the narratives on how laws are going to be placed in the land, who's going to be in position to run it, um, and at the same time try to keep hidden our hand in all of this here because it's the confusion that we need to keep going, right? They don't want us to be in sync and realizing where the problem really lies. And the real problem is not the people per se, it's the outside interference always playing to a programmed mind because they know the programmed mind don't know that they don't know. And that's a serious statement. My conversation don't change that much. I gotta keep reiterating these things. If you don't know that you don't know, you're not in a position to really help in a significant way. The only thing that you good for is being used as a piece on the chessboard for somebody else's benefit. And that's where we've been. So they've isolated all men. They don't confuse all men. They use colorism. They use status. They use religion. They use whatever it is that we can conflict about as if we created any of those things, as if we had any say so on how that was going to come about. And none of us did. So we've all been tricked. When I say men need to heal, I'm talking about the so-called white man, the so-called red man, the so-called yellow man, the so-called brown man or black man or whatever other color of species of man we think we can find because We keep talking about all these other extraterrestrial beings and stuff that's floating around on the planet. Reptilian people. We talk about the Anunnakis. We talk about so much different stuff that's dealing with life. But the one thing that's most important to me is I don't know about the Anunnaki. I don't. I haven't been on a spaceship in a minute. The one that I was on, it was in a vision or dream. It could have been real because everything happens right here in the mind. But when we start talking about reptilian people in your mind, you get this image of somebody that looks like a lizard or a snake, you know, literally. And I'm not here to debate whether that's true or not, but I can say in my mind, that's a characteristic thing. Because snakes, the real living embodiment of a serpent, a snake, they not bad because they just doing evil in the world. So in my mind, I don't take those things literal. I take them as metaphors, symbols, sign of something. And if we're not wise enough to read the signs, and we're not wise enough to even know that there are gonna be signs, then we're in trouble. And that's where we've been. I watched my whole life. Let me tell you this, to those that know me, that grew up with me in Fort Pierce, Florida. When I got into my predicament, right? I'm talking about when I actually um had met my final end in the criminal world, 1991, August the 12th. I was arrested. I was 19 years old at that time. I just turned 19 April of that year. I had a son, a daughter, been kicked out of school, don't kind of dodged a couple of incidents legally. I was feeling invincible, but at the same time, I was lacking. I was in need, had a family, and I wanted to take care of my family. But I had messed up so bad in school and squandered so many opportunities because I wasn't known as the killer. I wasn't known as the bad guy, you know, by many people. To those that were up close and personal with me, this dude is a wild dude. Like this dude, he's doing some wild at his age. I've heard the conversations. Boy, you got a lot of heart and no mind. I had a friend of mine actually say that to me, a guy that I called my friend, which was an older guy, and he was in the streets as well, you know. And he kind of took me on his wing a little bit because he seen me out there wild. And most of the people I hung around with were older than myself. I think I may have been the youngest in every group that I was ever around, even with my co-defendants, my cousin and my partner Gerald Green, may he forever rest in peace and power. Didn't even make it out of the federal prison system. He ended up transitioning from there, never made it back home to his family, his children, or to a life. And so being out here for me is bittersweet. And on top of that, when you've been put in a position where the creator starts to show you things, start pulling back the layers of the falsehood that's been ingrained through mind programming, through their institutions of learning, at some of the highest levels of thought process that we give credence to, God and money. God and money. You would think that they're different, but they one and the same because it's a God that they gave and a money that was created, right? That was then utilized in a negative way to create what we see now as far as the commercial aspect of what life is. In this capitalistic society, nothing moves without paper, you know, or the leverage of having actual land, access to that land, the natural resources, and the dissemination of that wealth, which belongs to all living creatures. So this systemic problem that we have, it starts here. The stem, the root of our problem is here. But one of the hardest things to do, really, when we have these conversations, is to sit with somebody and begin to try to point these things out without somebody catching feelings or somebody pride or the ego or people just don't want to hear it because they don't want the responsibility of what the truth is going to place on them. And I'm telling you, man, we were isolated. The main objective, as far as I can see, you know, is to make sure that we never got to a place in our minds where we could see these so-called colors as brothers or as human beings or as men. We had to either look at each other as superiors or inferiors. And even some that think that they're superior, like some of these people that have these Confederate flags, and I'm going to say it, we lived here, and there were black people that waved the Confederate flag as well. Do your history. I'm not going to do it all for you. I'm doing my own research, and you got to get up off your lazy behind and stop using this technology just to look at who's the biggest cheater or who's a gold digger. Shout out to them brothers that's doing their thing. They're creating content, but it's a part of the system. I mean, we already know that if you're broke and you're poor, man or woman, whoever got the bag, right? People gonna gravitate to that. So in my mind, when we as men begin to understand the significance of that, and then we start going into motion to despise or debase people based off of our wealth, we become just like the enemy. We become just like those who are in power. And not that I'm hating on the fact that they're in power, because I think they're doing a marvelous thing with trying to have something for themselves, right? Who would hate against somebody trying to do something, have something for themselves, and have something for their progeny? The problem becomes when it's happening in such a way that it's denying everybody else. But the denying is not an outright denial. It's a programmed mind that don't know that it's supposed to fight that type of suggestion, that type of thought process. So yes, we're mentally ill. We mentally ill. We've been broke down. We've been classified, identified within a structure that don't allow us to tap into nature and the laws that govern nature. And even to the point of us being human and having the intelligence, I truly believe we are the guardians of the planet. No, we're not above any creature. All creatures, all life forms are magnificent life forms, okay? That deserve respect, that deserve protection. And in the greater frame of things, I know that we utilize stuff because the flesh is, demands air, food, water, and things of that nature. So, we have to take from the earth within this ecosystem so that life can go on, like with the animals that go out and hunt for food. But you will notice that they don't hunt for sport and play. You know, if they got issues with other animals or creatures, it's a territorial thing. They got to eat. So, they may go to war in that way. I don't think that they just walk around like we do. And I hate, like the lion don't just walk around and say, I hate the hyena. The hyena is a threat. The hyena say, I hate the lion because he's a lion. They don't even know they hyenas and lions. They didn't name themselves that. And this is what I'm saying. The interference of a mentality that came to an understanding that if I could get into the psyche of somebody and begin to control their wants, and they have to study you to know this. It's just like being in prison. I'm gonna share this story. There was a brother from South Carolina. I believe his name was Drunk. They called him Drunk. This was in Jessup, Georgia. I didn't know much about Drunk. He seemed like a dude that from just being around and probably been in prison most of his young life and was still doing things because he was an older guy when I met him. Okay. But he used to know the younger guys because we was young at this time. I'm still in my early 20s at this time. I met a brother from Cordele, Georgia by the name of Christopher Jackson. We called him Gangster. And a brother by the name of Michael Mack from Miami. And we had a little, develop a little friendship with each other, camaraderie, if you will. These became my guys. We was young. We was into a lot of stuff. I'm still kind of fresh off the street, but I had been down, had been incarcerated at that point. This is like 1993. So I had been incarcerated already 2 years, approaching 3 years. Okay. And I remember I was standing on the rail one day and I was up there talking to Drunk. He liked to drink his coffee all the time. He had a bald head, had a beard. Um, he was kind of a bigger dude. You could tell in his younger days he was bigger than what he was. He was getting older now. And he was talking to me, and out of the blue, he just said, "Man, I know you and your guys, you Gangster and Mac, boy, y'all boys, you know what I'm saying? I be watching y'all young dudes, man. Y'all something, man." He said, "But you different." Now, in my young mind at that time, when somebody tell you different, you know, in a prison setting, I had never been in prison before. County jail, yes. Detention center, youth program, yes. But an actual prison, I had never been in an actual prison, but I heard so many stories. But they was mainly stories about state prison, which I thought that's what in my first time, because I knew at some point the life I was living, if I didn't get murked, I was going to prison. But I thought it would be the state. I never imagined in my mind that I would catch a federal case. That was some TV stuff from where I'm from. I'm from Fort Pierce, Florida. I don't know no guys that was catching federal case. Not saying that they wasn't. Where I was from, I didn't never hear nobody catching a federal case. But nonetheless, me and Drunk was talking. He was talking to me as an older brother. And I said, "What you mean by that though?" He say, "I watch y'all." He say, "Look at Gangster down there. Gangster like to gamble. That's his thing. He want to gamble, 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 gamble. And Mac, he like to get high. Now y'all be together, and I'm quite sure, I don't never. He's like, see you gambling, because I wasn't a gambler. That's not that wasn't my thing. Okay, and I was getting high. When I tell you, in the feds at that time, like the streets to me, had plenty of it on deck anytime you wanted, and we was participating 100%. I was into that. But I always made time because I'm a lover of education. I always made time to keep my head in a book. I went back to school, so I got to get my GED. I wanted to do other stuff in the way of education. So, and I would talk to a lot of the older guys because I've always been around older guys that I hung around. And you can get a lot of wisdom from guys, even though some of the information I was getting from these older cats, shit I shouldn't even been listening to. They should have knew better, but that's the world that we was in. Okay. So as Drunk was sharing this information with me, older brother to a younger brother, younger man with an older man in a prison setting where it's a bunch of freaking men. Okay. Come to find out later on, after I was gone from there, because I ended up leaving that prison because of a riot in 1995. The crack law wasn't passed, so they had the crack, what they called the crack riots in the federal prison. And so I participated in some things. I was a speaker, I was a part, and I was identified with other brothers as being the insiders of certain things because they did shut the prison federal system down for a couple of weeks, and then that was back open. Now, I'll be talking about things like that too because I really want to get into the psychology of what we're doing. But I'm saying all of that to say this. Here's a man that was watching young men, unbeknownst to me, right? Because I'm still kind of naive to this whole thing, but I'm aware that things happen back here. I know about the stabbings, I know about the drugs, I know about the guys that like guys and stuff like that. Now, I don't know to the degree of how things get set up because I've never been in this situation, but I got my thinking cap on. You know, come to find out later on, there was another young fellow that was there who got caught up and put in a situation, right? Because Drunk also told me this in this conversation. He said it's a lot of vultures everywhere, and you got to know how to identify who these vultures are. And what you mean, vultures? Guys that would do things or see you and know what you like, know what you're into, and when you can't get what it is, if you need whatever, they like to slide up on you. They'll even start trying to help you out, but you gotta be thankful if this person start helping you out. You don't know what kind of guy this is. You don't know if he's a predator. And Drunk was telling me these things like outright. I'm in my mind, I'm envisioning. I'm like, yeah. He say, take for instance, your boy down there gambling. A vulture sit back and see he ain't really got a whole lot from the dude he'll play up under him. He like to gamble. He'll start feeding him what he needs to get into the gambling thing. Look at your boy, he like to get high. But when he ain't got it to spend to get high, right? They'll ease up on him, man. They'll ease up on him and, make sure he can get what he need. But then no one thinks about when it's time to pay back. You so deep in it now, you gotta pay back. And they come to require or acquire that which was given to keep you into these things that we really shouldn't even been participating in the first place. But the point of the whole thing was he was telling me how people study people, how they study your habits. And I had a teacher, wise teacher, and still wise one, will always be wise, to say, when you want to understand something, you got to go to the root and know the essence of that thing. Because when you know the root and the essence of a thing, you're better prepared to deal with that thing. So in that whole situation, learning after I had left there, that Drunk was actually a guy that was into catching little youngins messing up and doing the very things he was telling me to another young guy. I couldn't believe it because this other young guy, he was young, big youngster too. As the story would go, he went to, he was in need. He probably didn't have no family support. Probably one of them youngers that didn't want to work in the prison, didn't want to go to school, but he needed things. He liked coffee, liked to smoke, cigarettes and stuff like. And Drunk was one of them dudes, man. Well, he had it. He worked in Unicorp, which is a factory inside the prison system where you can make money for people that's in a prison. You make pretty decent money there. So Drunk was a well-organized dude. He had everything. He had his coffee, he had his cigarettes, he had weed, whatever you need, Drunk had it. Well, dudes went to telling me about the young dude, you know, playing gangster, playing hard, perpetrating. And Drunk got him. Dude told me, and I don't know how he knew this unless he was there, but as the story went, Drunk got him in the room one day, all them cigarettes, all that coffee, all them stamps. Because in prison, stamps, especially flat books, whole books, that's the currency. Mackerels, like mackerels that you eat the fish in the pouch or the cans at that time when they used to have the can ones. That was currency. You could trade that stuff for goods and favors and stuff like that there. And you accumulate enough stamps, you could sell them and get the cash money for it, right? Oh man, I'm not trying to be a dry snitch or nothing like that. I'm just saying the young dude got caught up in that, and when the time came, from what was told to me, Drunk reeled him in and called him on, you know, the things he was giving him to support his habits. He knew the young boy didn't have it to give, and the guy obviously was ready to, take the young boy there because he already don't spy something. He had to spy something in him. This boy soft. He talked, but this guy here, lifetime of prison, state joints to the feds, know about pushing knives and know about, turning young men out that played the game. And so the young dude played the game. And I'm saying that to say this. That's the way the world is. That's the way that these people in upper echelons or the so-called power people, they think this way. They spy out what your habits are. Even in social media, the algorithm find the things that we interested in the most. If you looking at big booties and coochies all day, that's what they're gonna put out there for you. You don't know that some of these big booties you looking at got a whip between their legs because you don't see that it's tucked in. But it's to get your mind on sex. They showing you drugs and alcohol and knowing that you don't have no damn discipline. So the object is to learn your weaknesses, to learn those sweet spots that they can come in and manipulate and trick us. And that's what happened to us as men. We got tricked right up out of our position. Yes, we did. We got tricked right out of our position. And what is the position? We supposed to be the military branch of our communities, the military branch over the families that will be produced through us and the feminine principle, the maintainers of peace, the giver of the law. Today, men, we looking at stuff on social media where men are talking to women and women talking to men like they some bitches. You a bitch. I don't experience that since I've been home with a younger woman. No respect, especially when they can't get their way. Now, this is not a culturally and refined young woman because culturally refined women, they bring peace to a table, not pieces. They're gonna have your mind blowed up. They bring peace, right? They set for men who will help maintain that peace, govern that peace, protect that peace. But most of us, we don't know how to do that as men. And the question becomes, why? Because we've been mentally broken. We don't been sold on the things like our sisters. It's the material things. It's the material things. I gotta get so much to have so much so I can have power. That's the same thing that the people in the so-called powers of positions do. In order to maintain this power, I got to keep the illusion going. So we got a bunch of guys out here walking around talking about they men because they can knuckle up on somebody that's less, you know, prepared to throw them things, or they pulling out pistols, can't fight a lick. It don't take much for somebody to pull a gun out and shoot, squeeze a trigger. But somehow, when you catch a body or so, go to jail, you become a hero. I had people calling me legend. I had people calling me all kinds of stuff, man. You a legend. Like, how? I was a young dummy. That's what I was. That didn't know that I didn't know. And I thought I was a smart person. I thought I was a real slick person as well. But my best thinking, the brother Sean, man, I don't know where you at, brother Sean, but I met this brother in Coleman, Florida at another facility. I went to a few facilities while I was in the Fed, some disciplinary and some just transferred because I, learned some lessons and I started doing the right things. But I was getting my education on in that prison. I was learning a lot of stuff that led me out here to do exactly what I'm doing right now, sharing these stories. And today we're talking about men healing. But again, you got to know that you ill. They don't. Corruption has been normalized so much so that when we doing the wrong thing, we actually think we're doing the right thing. Yeah, my family got to eat, and they got to eat today. I ain't finna go out there looking for no job, man. I might can't even get the job. You know what I'm saying? I'm a hustle. I'm gonna sell some dope. I'm gonna rob. I'm gonna steal. I'm gonna manipulate. You know, I'm gonna be a gigolo. I'm gonna be a pimp. I'm gonna be a whatever. And all of those things in the mind, we justify the means to the end. But in actuality, everything that we're about to do is not gonna be done where the people of power at. It's gonna be done right there with the people you live with. And if it's not in your city, in your state, you go to other states and do the same thing. You go learn, put down, find some people, set up shop, and then continue on with a lifestyle that is definitely not a lifestyle, but a death style. And we put that on each other. As men, we used to fight against stuff. We would fight against that ignorance. And at one point, for the so-called black man, you weren't even much allowed to be a man, an animal. Only good for what the master wanted to do. And these are documented things, so I'm not saying nothing that I'm making up. You can find this stuff right here in YouTube. They got plenty of information here for us to delve into, and many other search engines that you can go to get information. So I don't want to hear nothing about I'm trying to be racist or nothing. We got the fucking facts, the pictures to go with some of this stuff. Wasn't even allowed to have a fucking family. Just broken, whole soul gone. Nature just tampered with so bad, made you something other than what the creator wanted you to be. But this science was applied to every man because everybody got to have a station, a status, and the women is the object of the whole thing. It's 12:54. I'm gonna be doing this up until about 1:15 because after this I have to get myself together. So men, men, I'm talking to men now, not the little boys. And if you are what they call an adult male, which is supposed to be a man, I don't know where we getting it twisted at, because age don't make you a man. Because we got some dudes 60, 70, 80 years old still running around here acting like they 10, still playing in a sandbox, still want to listen. I understand the fashion, I get it. Ain't nothing wrong with having a nice car. You live long enough to have many of them, especially if you've been out here free. If you've been doing what you're supposed to do with savings and investings and stuff. But we got old ass men still think that they can keep running the same play, you hustling, and get mad at somebody if they say something. Sit your old ass down, man. You- We still do this. In my mind, I be seeing it. I don't talk to some of my guys since I've been home. I missed a lot of my life. I didn't I, I didn't enjoy none of my 20s as a free person, as a so-called free person. None of my 30s as a so-called free person. Was damn near out of my 40s before I was released. 47, damn near spent all of my 40s. But it was because of the things that I had experienced before even going in there that kind of helped me out back there, because I grew up. I'm not gonna say the hardest, because I had some friends that grew up worse than I did. That didn't do any of the things that I'd done. They stuck it out. They had discipline. They stayed on in school. They went on to college. They went out and got careers and became notable people out there. It made the Most High be pleased with their sacrifice. I chose to go another way. I became a part of the statistics from somebody from my neighborhood, my area, 13th Street. I was born and raised right there in Fort Pierce. 13th Street is the spot. Heartland Co. Edgewater. And I love my whole city, all the city. I got brothers all over that city, men that I grew up with, men that I had beef with, and we overcame those beefs and we respect each other. Unlike what I'm seeing today. What I'm seeing today is the byproduct of something that was designed and put into motion long time ago. Never allow the masculine principle to know that he's supposed to be masculine and what that means. Never let them understand that they are supposed to be the protectors, and that if they unify, right, they will control the board. Instead, we got watered down versions of what that is. Overly protected little boys by their mamas. I want you to understand how this works, and go do your research. Separate that man once you put him in a position to be with his family. Separate that man from that. Because the ultimate aim was to get to the woman, because she becomes the prize. She's the spoil of the war. She's the booty, as they called it. In the minds of the rich and the elite and those that want to keep control, she's a factory, a human baby making factory. But what doesn't happen, the women now, right, that has been put into this mode of thinking that grandma, great grandma, and them was some weak women, notwithstanding the circumstances that they had to live up under. These women that lived back in the day, that if some of these women lived back in that time, they punk you. They're like a lot of men, like a lot of us, that be walking around all macho and pulling pistols out. If you lived in that time and they brought that kind of force, and these not criminal people, they wasn't criminal and selling drugs and all that stuff, acting crazy and all that stuff, they couldn't. And if they were allowed to do it, it was only because the masters had need of that diversion. You know, anything to take the mind away from actually doing something that the creator created the mind to do, and that's be self-sustaining with all the things that was given to us to sustain ourselves. Our people actually wanted something back, and they wanted the land. They knew that the land was how they was gonna feed themselves, house themselves, and clothe themselves, having access to the animals that had the furs or the cottons and stuff, and somebody else was benefiting from that there. But to break that man and get to the woman, we have lost our position as the voice of law. Our voice don't carry no weight. You start getting up and start speaking with authority, they take that as our women take that as a sign of disrespect now. They pump their chests up higher than we do and will call you a bitch ass nigga. Punk pussy fuck boy. Fuck you. I don't need you. And in that state, we ain't no fucking good. That's the truth. How she gonna respect that? Icon. If you acting like a fuck boy, if you're not out here getting your shit together, you don't have no discipline, homie. You know, you think that you can still do shit like when you was 16, you haven't learned anything. Thinking you can just run through women without no consequence. Today's man is not yesterday's man. The goal was to sorry about every time. Probably gonna get that little echo. I had to come back in, and so this stuff eat up so much of your battery life. And I got a double play here. Yeah, see how to do that. But anyway, I got a double. Like I'm trying to invite myself. Give me a second here, y'all. Mic check. I get mic check. But anyway, it's always something. This device of mine, when it get to 45%, it will go into power save mode. I'm gonna have to turn that off when I'm doing the show. Uh, it's a distraction, so I'm gonna keep it going because I need to end here soon. Anyway, I'm saying all of the things that I'm saying because a need and a desire. The need for me is to reclaim myself as a human being, and the significance is to rightfully gain what the Creator created me to have and created us to have, and that's a fair chance to do something for self, utilizing the earth, utilizing everything that's here that the flesh calls for. But the main thing is to get my mental together. In order to have a better quality of life, you have to have a better quality of mind. My mind is no longer set on hurting and harming people. I'm gonna protect myself, to the best of my ability. Try to speak words of wisdom to people to say, hey, we don't have to always settle our disputes with fights and arguments, but if they happen, let's think ourselves through it before we get to a level where we hurt each other. Because I don't know what that is. I know that it's coming from here. Uh, yeah. So it's 104. You know, I got 11 minutes. I want to thank everybody for listening. Please forgive me for the technical distraction that just happened. I see right now I'm going to have to really shut that power saving thing off because it throws everything off. I got an echo. It's all good. But anyway, it is my desire to continue to come here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, fan base, and whatever I can walk through a door to meet people, talk to people, share these stories. Um, when it's time for serious talk, I want to make sure that men know and understand that we have a place where it ain't just fun and games when it's time to talk about our lives, what we mean. And if you don't see yourself as a person that's giving respect, you need to come on get with me because I want to show you how to reclaim that. Okay, it don't matter how much money you have or how much money you don't have, how much property you have, or how much property you don't have. This ain't even about material things anyway. This is about the fight for mastery and control of your own mind. And if we don't understand that, we just in trouble. And I'm gonna tell you, it's a lot of people that's not gonna get in line, get right, and want to participate, and that's fine. But to the men out there that know that there's a problem and willing to work on that by dealing with the self, here's the space where you need to be, right here with Circle of the Gods.6. I'm not here to judge anybody. As you can see, I talk about myself. I'm gonna share the good, the bad, and the ugly about me and the things I've learned about me, because I am my first case study. I don't have no sympathy for nobody because I don't ask for sympathy, but empathy. Because I was brought into the light, the illuminating light, to see things for what they are and not what was told to us. We're gonna have to learn to forgive ourselves, have mercy for us, and reconnect to that core that the creator gave us in the first place. We got to decalcify the pineal gland and we got to become more spiritual, right? We got to get back to nature. We got to get back to understanding the laws that govern nature. Not saying that we going to correct ourselves overnight and become some perfect being or nothing, but we have to do this so that we can feed this to our children, the young little boys that's looking up to us. And I can say this, I truly do have remorse, for the example that I was as a young person that was influencing other young people, you know. So it is my life mission. I'm not just no staunch dude that's coming with the fire brimstone. I actually like to have fun. I'm a music lover. I do a lot of shows where I have music involved in it. And I want to grow this platform and I want you to help me grow this platform. So I'm gonna be reaching out to a lot of you that's listening to this that I'm already talking to. It's time to go to work. We can have fun, we can earn, we can do a bunch of different things, but it's time for us as men to heal and stop blaming our women for everything, our children for everything. And let's get out this Willie Lynch mentality. And let's stop looking at these constructs and letting them dictate how we treat each other as human beings. Ain't no such a thing as no white man, black man, brown man, yellow man, red man. It's bullshit. If I'm gonna use a construct, we people, we human, and we all got something in common. We need fresh air, we need clean water, clean food, and access to the resources, the natural resources that we can maintain and sustain ourselves. We must become the military-minded people that we were created to be, men, and stop running around here with our tails between our legs, scared to live life and thinking that we can't express ourselves without somebody thinking that we weak. I don't care what somebody think about me. Think I'm weak if you want to. That's on you. I got shit to do. Real men, we know this. And to the sisters out there that come across my path, if I've been what you perceive to be aggressive or he's mean, that's a part of me that I got to keep on tap because it's some mean shit happening in this world. And I can't lay down on the mission. Not no more. I ain't walking around like I'm holier than thou. That ain't me. I'm not trying to be no preacher. I'm not trying to be no leader and tell people you got to do it this way. I'm just saying we got to open up these conversations so we can get to the root of the problem. That's all I'm saying. And so with that, I had a good time. And I hope y'all had a good time.
Icon up in the building. Circle of the Gods.6. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go. Kamikaze. Yes, we in the building.
I want y'all to make sure that y'all come out every Saturday,
I'm the boss.
12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we right here on YouTube. I will have something put together for us next weekend.
Right, and some lean.
On tomorrow, Sunday, 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We Are the City Network presents. We're gonna have some fun tomorrow. We're gonna have some general conversations, some music involved. Some of my freestyles. I'm gonna keep doing that there, and I want people to just come on in, let's vibe, and let's get to know each other.
Got to flexing on a whole nother level till my friends can't up with me. Go. If you get to the top, I salute that. Let's get it.
It's been good. And we've reached that point, man. Listen, I'm about to get up out of here. I love y'all with God's perfect love. Man, if you want to get on this platform with me, reach out to me. If you got a story that you want to tell that could be encouraging or inspiring, or just want to talk about, hey, man, I went through it. This is what I did to come up out of it. Or, brother, I need help. Come talk to your big brother. I am the Icon6. I'm Joe Rue's son. My daddy named Albert Smith. My daddy named W.D. Johnson. My brother named William. My sister named Tina and Chant. And I got a big family, Aunt Tiny, Myron and Byron, CJ, you name it, Mika, Mario, Gary Copeland. Cuz don't do it to me. All right, y'all. I got to get up out of here. Peace.